Hey there, kiddos, and welcome back to the channel. I'm Uncle Frank. I'm that you are having a great day, and in today's video, I'm going to be sitting back in my not squeaky chair, relaxing and having a little conversation with all of you guys about Magic the Gathering, the reserved list, and where I think it's going. Because, yeah, it has been quite a while now since I have last talked about the reserved list on this channel, so I feel like it's only appropriate to talk about the reserved list, its status as of 2026, where I think it's going, and overall just remind you guys that it exists because, well, while there is a lot of focus and attention and chatter about Magic the Gathering lately, a lot of that discussion, a lot of the discourse online when it comes to Magic is it's on the new stuff, the new hotness, Universes Beyond sets galore, the collector booster boxes and how much value they hold, and serialized number cards and all that jazz. All the miscellaneous new stuff that brings headlines and attention to the game, right? Record sales and all that jazz. Very few people, very little attention is being given to older stuff, older Magic the Gathering sets and their cards, which is a shame because Magic's 30 years of history is full to the brim with all sorts of really cool cards. And while I would love to give a breakdown of every single ancient set in the game and why you should care about it, instead today I'm just going to focus on what I think is the head of the pack, so to speak, of lesser discussed ancient Magic facets, the reserved list, the head of the pack, so to speak. And, while there is not a lot of attention, not a lot of discussion on the reserved list these days, while a lot of people just kind of let it slide under the radar, in the background of the Magic economy, the Magic market, reserved list cards are moving and prices are shifting, notably. And for some people, it's going to be too late by the time they notice to get in on the action. And they will want to get in on the action, especially some people who've never engaged with this side of the hobby. There's going to be some really cool cards that sooner or later some people really will want, that they won't really want to spend that kind of money on. So, first things first, I suppose, 2 minutes into the video. If you've never heard of the reserve list before, maybe you're one of the new guys to Magic the Gathering, well, a long time ago, in the far off yesteryears of 1995, I believe it was, a few sets came out that reprinted a bunch of cards very quickly, Chronicles, 4th edition, etc. And the Magic the Gathering player base and the collectors at the time really did not appreciate this. Keep in mind, this was like 3 years into the game's history, and collectors did not have millions and millions of dollars in this stuff. It was just some cards were worth a lot more than others. Well, their reaction to this was extremely negative. The game was dying, so to speak. And Wizards of the Coast, in a kind of knee-jerk reaction, decided to put out a promise that they would never reprint certain cards. They put out this big list of cards that they reserved the right to never reprint. Thus, the reserve list was born. It's been edited in the years since cards have been added, cards have been taken off, but for the most part, it's been unassailed by the overall reprint policy of Wizards of the Coast. Overall, because there was a Magic 30 thing in there that some people did not take well. But overall, the reserved list is some of the oldest cards in the game, some of which are some of the best cards in the game. The Power 9, Dual Lands, the Moxen, all kinds of really cool cards sit on the reserved list, and they have exceptionally high prices for what they are. But I should stress something that I really need to get out as early as I can in any one of these videos. Just because a card has reserved list status does not automatically make it good and or valuable. In fact, there's loads of cards. I would argue like half of the reserved list, in fact, is patentedly bad cards. There's a bunch of cards on there from like Ice Age or Visions or Mirage that are just kind of not playable. Yeah, there's a lot of really cool stuff on there as well. Sets like Stronghold have a lot of really cool reserved list representation. Any of the Legends cards are always really cool to hold, but a lot of the cards on the reserve list are just patentedly bad. So it needs to be stressed that just because it's a reserve list card does not mean that I think it's overlooked or anything. But I will say, if a card is good, playable, or has a specific niche in a deck, and it is on the reserved list, well, I do believe that there's a lot of potential in its future value. And over the last year, the reserved list, or cards on the reserved list, I should say, have been, well, creeping upwards. Some even more drastically than they did during the COVID era. And if you guys weren't here for that, during COVID, a bunch of people bought up reserved list cards, causing many of them to spike in price, especially a lot of the cheaper ones that people were just kind of gorging on. There were so many at so low prices. There was a bunch of reserved list cards, in fact, that were like under a dollar, under 50 cents for some of them. But because they were reserved list cards, people bought them up. That ended up proving to be a mistake, but that can be another discussion for another video. But yeah, some of these cards are rising strikingly fast. Mox Diamond, for instance, the Stronghold version, not the from the Vault foil version, like it's doubled in the last year alone. It's like $1,200 right now, which is quite impressive because that card was sitting at its like $300 price point for quite a while before all of a sudden kind of rising over the last few years. Sarah Sanctum is like $500 now, and that was a $90 card for the longest time. It was $300-ish a year ago. Metalworker is great. It doubled in price to $200 now, which is pretty great. The foil one's like $1,000. And of course, there's more examples I could talk about. There's loads of cards on the reserved list that over the last 12 months have risen in price drastically. Silently, you would say, because a lot of attention, again, is on the new stuff. So many people are throwing money at collector booster boxes, for instance, that they're just kind of ignoring the reserved list and letting people silently make moves on it. Now, this is not universal. Before you say, oh, Uncle Frank is saying the entire reserve list is going up, I have to stress, again, that this is not universal. Like I said, there are loads of cards on the reserved list that, in my opinion, should never be worth more than like $1 or even $5 at their height. And even some of the good cards, you know, with a lot of cool potential that are really playable, in my opinion, aren't really seeing movement over the last 12 to 18 months. I mean, look at Volrath's Stronghold or Master of the Hunt and Power Artifact. These cards see very little or no movement. In fact, there's some cards on the reserve list that are seeing negative prices. They're going downwards. In fact, the big one that always shocks me, still, I keep an eye on it. It's one of the few older cards that I keep an active eye on, Sliver Queen. The first legendary Sliver in the game. It's a reserve list card. It's highly playable. It's the best Sliver commander, in my opinion. And it's still at the roughly $300 price point it's been at for years now, which does bug me on some potential level, just because it is really one of the best legendary creatures on the reserve list, in my opinion, and it's just got no movement. It is what it is, right? But what I'm here to talk about today is not just the fact that it's on the reserve list, it's gonna go up. No, I'm talking about the potential to go up. The potential is there. You see, the reserved list is a big bundle of potential. Yes, there's a lot of dog water cards on it, don't get me wrong, but there's also a lot of cool, playable, and very collectible cards there as well. You know, things like Goblin Wizard, which is, in my opinion, an auto-include in any Goblin tribal deck, or I think Gilded Drake is a reserved list card. Is Gilded Drake a reserved list card? There's one that I always think is reserved list, but it turns out it's not, and I think it's Gilded Drake. Let me know in the comments section below if Gilded Drake is reserved list or not. I always forget. But there's a lot of really like cool cards on the reserve list that are $100 or under, and they're all very playable. Some are even less so, and then are quite affordable. You know, at a price tag where you're going to be buying things like booster boxes or such. There are, you know, just some cards out there that, if you're in the market, I think it's not a terrible idea to grab them, especially now when a lot of people are turning their eyes the other way. You know, when people are buying $150 play booster boxes or whatever have you. There's a lot of cool stuff on the reserve list that, you know, chances of them getting their price points down to zero is not high. Chance of them getting reprinted is not high. Not zero. It's not zero. I should. Magic 30 saw to that. But it's not high. Basically, what I'm trying to say in this video is I'm trying to remind you guys that the reserve list exists. Don't forget about it. And keep an eye on it. There's a lot of cool stuff on there, way more than I've talked about than in this video. Basically, if there's a card on the list that you like or you might want to play for in a deck, in my opinion, it's better to have it sooner than later, is what I'm really trying to say. So, personally, my opinion towards it has always been if I can afford it, I try to prioritize reserve list cards over newer stuff. Especially given Wizards' track record when it comes to how they reprint a lot of new cards and new sets. You know, they're kind of really aggressive with that, you know? It's, for the past 15 years, they've been super aggressive with how they do reprints. It's always painted a kind of a sour taste in people's mouths. It's made some sense, in fact, basically completely undesirable. It's part of the reason this is going to be its own video at some point, but part of the reason a lot of these slightly older sets see basically no upward momentum is just because the cards in them, the desirable cards in them, have been reprinted into oblivion, so there's no excitement anymore in opening them up. I mean, Innistrad is one of the best sets of all time, and nobody wants to open it because there's no reason to do that, which is a shame. No Innistrad drafts here, boys. Anyway, this was just my once-a-year reminder that the reserved list exists. Go check it out. There's all kinds of neat stuff on there. Let me know what you guys think about it in the comments section below, whether you agree with me or disagree with me. As always, I'm always curious to hear your guys' opinions. And as for the video itself, please like it, share it with a friend, subscribe to the channel for more Uncle Frank rants. Oh, and check out the links in the description below to TCG Player, eBay, Patreon, and the Discord server where we chat about all kinds of random stuff. Thanks again for watching, and I'll talk to you guys later. Ciao.